So today I thought I'd share with you guys some ideas for games that I would make if I knew how. I have 3 games lined up, so let's just start. First we have I call this an old Zelda type game just because of its pixel art style, and it has the same sort of premise, but with a twist. You play as the swordsman who has been tasked with destroying the kingdom by the big bad. The story would feature 4 dungeons, 3 which you could take on in any order you'd like, and then the 4th one, which is the larger one at the end. The first 3 dungeons would all have different elemental themes, with there being fire, earth and water. Each of these would give you pieces to this elemental sword, which, when you came to it, would seal the final boss away, which would be the hero of the story. After killing him, you kill the king, and then you rule over the land with the big bad. The enemies in this game would essentially be the different ranks of knights, with some having spears which give some range, some having swords which basically just slashes you, and some having maces which do a spin attack. There would also be animals in this game that would fight you, like the dogs and giant frogs. You would be able to go into the towns and cities as you'd be disguised as somebody that you're not, so no one would know that you're evil. There would also be different tools in this game which you would get from the dungeons, like the grapple hook, which can get you up to higher ground. Now, although short, this experience would have a lot of side quests and collectibles to keep you busy. Anyway, up next we have Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love immersive sims. I mean, Hitman is one of my favourite game series of all time, just because of how you can customise your approach to missions. In this sci-fi immersive sim, you play as a genetically modified super soldier who is sent out on missions. These places can range from cyberpunk cities to spaceships, or even penthouses, and you're tasked with eliminating one person. Unlike Hitman, you can choose to go in guns blazing or quiet and sneaky. The approach you take can depend on your cybernetic augmentations which you can put on, and I'll list a few for you now. Eyes that can see through walls, ears that can hear through walls, a finger gun, a double jump, an invisible shell that can only be used once a contract lasting 30 seconds, a metal arm, 2 metal arms, a metal body, a voice mimicker, Spider-Man type webs, a fire hose on your hand. I could go on and on, not to mention the huge amount of weapons that would be in this game. You would lose points if you harm civilians, but you wouldn't lose points if you harm security. And as long as you get the job done, you're rewarded with something. The game would also be very bloody, featuring dismemberment. The level design would feature rooms which are restricted and rooms which are unrestricted. Of course, you'd be shot down on sight in these restricted areas unless you're wearing the correct disguise. But finally, we have Now this game would be great. It would be set in a post-apocalyptic zombie outbreak version of Canada, where you play as a mercenary for one of the 2 factions. Over time, you will make choices which will decide the ending of your game. Will you side with this faction? Will you side with that faction? Or will you go on your own? And it would be very similar to the old Dead Island games with lots of gore and weapons to choose from. There would also be a lot to do in the background, like a lot of side quests and collectibles. There would be all kinds of crazy weapons in this game too, featuring sharpened chopsticks or plastic forks. But with guns being the main focus of the game,
I need more bullets!
There'll also be stuff like M9s, AK-47s, as well as bow and arrows. The characters in this game would be very in-depth too, and you would be able to get to know them through just talking to them. The game would also have a very heavy emphasis on parkour, and I just copied Dying Light. But anyway, the game would be big, and I'm sure it would sell very, very well. So those are my ideas of games I would make if I knew how. So why don't you guys comment games that you'd make if you knew how? And while you're at it, why not subscribe and like the video, man? I mean, you've made it this far, haven't you? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.